What do you do when you need to expand your irrigation system, but the manifold is already cut to the length that you had it and you need to make it a little longer? You adapt. I mentioned that I just planted some more comfrey over here on the north side of my high tunnel. It's just right here. I made 2 furrows. One furrow is just right alongside where the shadow is, and the other furrow you see over here. I haven't put any comfrey in this furrow yet. This one I filled up yesterday, and I put them pretty close together, but just put one line of them. I told Papa that I needed to water over here, and he had cut the manifold. I asked him if he had the stuff in order to expand it, to put an addition on there, and he said he thought he did. We might need 1 piece, but then he thought about it a little bit, and then he produced this. This is one of the pieces that we got, this end right here. This is an old piece of hose. I think I got this from Ann Birdsong when we tore down her barn. I don't know for sure. And it's got an end on here, and the manifold has a cap on the end. And this is female, so it'll screw right on there. And then I can put the drip tape on the end of this. I'll show you in just a minute. I'm gonna screw this on there in just a second, and I'm gonna put some drip tape here at the end. I'm gonna feed it in through the side right here because yesterday when I tilled this up, I pushed a bunch of the earth right up to the side to make sure that there aren't those gaps there anymore. So I've gotten rid of just about all the gaps at the bottom. So I'll do that, and then I'll show you me screwing it on there inside the high tunnel. Easy. Well, I've got you here in the high tunnel. I've started putting a few of these composted wood chips in between my rows. You can see some right here and over here where things have already came up. That way it'll prevent it being so soggy in the middle of the row. And all that stuff is going to add to the soil as well, especially if I don't mix it in. I probably won't do a whole lot of mixing in the middle of these rows. I'm just right now trying to keep all the weeds down, which is a job, even with just what we've started. We've only got things planted in these first 3 rows over here, the one at the very end, and these 2 with corn. We have peppers up here. We have some more peppers. We've got some tomatoes over here. And then some, at the very end, we got some zucchini and some squash. This 3rd row right here at the very end, there's a pumpkin that Rua wanted to plant. And then there's also some cucumbers that Nan and Papa planted. I think that's just about all that we've got planted in here. There's a little bit of lettuce over here that Rua and I planted as well, and only some of them came up. It's pretty hot in here right now. Let's go check the temperature. Could you read that? It said it was 103 degrees. It said it was 103.1 with 35% humidity in here. So it's pretty hot. It's just afternoon right now. It looks like I buried it with soil just whenever I was doing this yesterday. But that's okay, it came up just really easily. And it's got this little white cap over here on it. Can you see that? That's just a cap to keep things from getting in it and so water don't come out the end. I'm just gonna unscrew this. And it's got a male connector with threads. Then I can put this on here. I think while I have this up here at the end, I think I'm just gonna wrap it around here. I've got the sides up instead of putting it underneath this plastic right here. Because if you can see this, it's curved a little bit this way, so there's a little less fatigue on it. It's just coming up and over, and then I can put the drip tape down in just a few minutes. I almost forgot 2 things. Number one of the reasons that we did it this way is because these are all things that we had on hand, and I really like it whenever you can use the things that you have. If you can, you know, improvise. Papa has always said, since I've been growing up, he always said, improvise, adapt, and overcome. So I really like that. I think that's kind of a, you know, could be the homesteader's mantra. He did it this way for that reason, because these are things that we had. Right before I started filming, I went out to the shed to get a hose washer, rummaged around for 10 or 15 minutes to find it, because otherwise this is probably gonna leak right here. So these come in really handy if you want to prevent leaks on your hoses. So there it is, just put it in there, pretty easy to put in there, and then just screw it back in. And I've also got all these valves shut off, so whenever I turn it on here in just a few minutes, it'll just go out that way. And I've already irrigated in here this morning, so it's plenty moist. I don't even make it any more moist because if I have water standing in here, it makes the mosquitoes like crazy. I assume that's what's making the mosquitoes like crazy. There's mosquitoes like crazy in here, which is another reason why I put this composted wood chip mulch down, is to prevent water from standing. Because if it stands, then mosquitoes are going to breed. In case you missed it last time, connecting this is super simple. All you gotta do is put it on there and try to slide it on there as far as you possibly can, and then screwing this thing down. And that holds it really tight. And then I can walk the drip tape all the way down the length of this, and I'll probably walk it down just a little bit extra. I'm gonna have 2 rows here. What I'm probably just gonna do is just move the drip tape from one row to the next. So I've got it walked down here. I'm just gonna cut the end right here. And in my last one, in case you missed that one, somebody said that instead of putting those ends on here, that you can just fold it over 2 or 3 times and put a piece of tape over it or something. I don't have any tape. I'm gonna tie some baling twine around it. So now we're ready for a smoke test. Turn the water on and see if anything goes wrong. Okay, there's the camera. You look into it and tell them what I did wrong.
The reason it was leaking is he hooked hose threads to pipe threads. Pipe threads are much finer than hose threads. Hose has got what they call garden hose thread on them. This is our regulator. We're putting it on the hose to regulate it down to 10 pounds so it don't blow up the drip tape.
You ready for me to turn it on?
I will be by the time you get there. And then we're putting the hose on the regulator. You can't see it down there. Got it out of frame. He mutters at me all the time for having it out of frame. But now we've got the hose hooked to the regulator and the regulator hooked to the adapter we made. And he's turning it on to see if it leaks.
Yes, sir, it's dripping. No, sir, not leaking. Yes, sir, dripping.
Hose threads and pipe threads are different. Right now you have to move the hose.
So that hose was connected to our fertilizer injector, and I connected it to the manifold. You saw me do that, but apparently there's 2 different types of thread that they don't teach in public schools.
They don't teach you anything in public school. You got to learn anything you really need to know. You've got to learn in the School of Hard Knocks.
So that means that I've got to go through all this rigmarole of disconnecting it from the fertilizer injector to connect it to this hose to water outside.
That's temporary. All of this is temporary. We're going to pipe it in underground so it comes up inside the high tunnel before freezing weather so that it won't do that. Won't have to do that.
But right now, that's what we have to do, apparently. Papa's got a bunch of other stuff on his plate. He's got to get Nana's bathroom finished, and
right now he's got to get my car.
then he's got to get his car. He's got to get her car.
She hit a bridge yesterday.
She was run nearly off the road. If there had been much road, you would have been run off it, but it was the bridge. We got that going, and I'm getting this irrigated. It looks like it's working just fine. See it?
Looks good, son.
See it back here, how it's getting moist along that line? So I've got a row of Comfrey all the way down there, and this time I didn't bend down and place them about 1 foot apart. I just made a furrow and just dropped them in there, probably closer to 6 inches apart. That's what this other furrow over here is. You see that one? I'm gonna do the same thing for it. And then all these will turn into plants, and 1-year plants on Co's Comfrey, I just checked, you have to buy 10 of them, but 10 1-year plants are $50. And some of these are much larger than a typical 1-year plant. If we fertilize them and take care of them really well, then they can grow pretty large. And then $12 for 10 cuttings plus shipping and handling. That means that if every one of these I can get 10 cuttings off of, there's 200, that's 2,000, that's $2,000 worth. So you can end up, making your money at the start of our plant nursery.
What I'll do, either this afternoon or tomorrow, is get a short piece of hose, probably 8 or 10 feet, hooked to the fertilizer injector, and run it outside the high tunnel and put a quick connect on it. And I'll put a quick connect on the end of this if you've got that many quick connects.
We use some quick connects, and they're really handy. I'll order some maybe today, and whenever they come, I'll show you. But it's not in any hurry, because once I get this in here, I'm going to irrigate it really well, so it won't need to be irrigated again for another few days or a week.
And then you can roll that up and store it.
It worked well with the end. It's not dripping. I just folded over it
Did you walk down there?
5 or 6 times. Yeah. Well, I already had it hooked up. I'd had it hooked up and leaking like that for about 30 minutes.
Folded it over and put a piece of wire around it?
I just used baling twine because that's what I had. I just tied a knot around it. All right, so I got this second row of comfrey planted, and I got the drip tape moved. I should have showed you, but I didn't think about filming it until after I'd already gotten it done. It really isn't all that pleasant to do, but it's not hard. It probably takes about 5 minutes because I've got to walk back and forth and even it out. If I had a couple of people, even my children, to help me, but they were over doing something else and I didn't want to grab them to get them over here. Rua's at work today. Papa's gone to get some tires for Nana. Nana's up at her house, I believe. This looks like it got irrigated pretty well. You see right behind me the row of wet soil. It'll probably be fine unless it just stays, unless it gets really super hot and stays super hot. It'll probably be fine for a few days. In fact, I think that's really probably good for it. It doesn't need to stay soggy. It needs to, get moist and then kind of dry out a little bit, especially on the surface, and then underneath all that stuff is happening. Those root cuttings will sprout and start putting out leaves. And the way I've got it, if you see where the drip tape is and where it's moist, there's enough room for me to run that little tiller in between to get rid of a bunch of weeds. If this works okay, then I might do this again. I might also go buy some plastic to stop some weeds. I think this is gonna work out very well. I put them much closer together than I did in the high tunnel. In the high tunnel, I put them about a foot apart on both sides of the drip tape, and then between each plant, I put them about a foot apart. But here, I just kind of put them right next to each other, just the cuttings just right next to each other, and they'll sprout. They won't get quite as big, but then after they do that, then I can move them again and make larger plants out of them, or I can sell just 1-year plants from that. Took a few more plants because these plants weren't quite as large, but say from well taken care of plants, I can probably get at least 10 cuttings from each plant. That means I can take these 200 and make 2,000 out of. There's probably at least 200 in there, and 200 in both these rows, so that's 600. I can make 6,000 plants out of those. So I can just keep on propagating them, and the leaves are very useful, and then I can also sell them as well. I'm not going to start selling them until I make sure I have plenty of stock in order to do that in the future. I still have several actually in the front yard next to fruit trees, and those are quite large, and then I've got a few more over here by the strawberries as well. So I might end up doing this again. I'm not gonna put any more over here on the north side this year, but I might put some over here on the south side. I don't know, I haven't decided for sure yet. If you like things like this, like and subscribe, hit that notification bell, select all so you never miss a notification. And remember, we're doing videos now on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and a live stream on Sunday night at 8 p.m. Central Time. Thanks.